Apple Card is the credit card created by Apple. You earn 3% daily cash back up front when you use it to buy a new iPhone 15, AirPods, or any products at Apple. And you can automatically grow your daily cash at 4.15% annual percentage yield when you open a high-yield savings account. Apply for Apple Card in the Wallet app on iPhone. Apple Card subject to credit approval. Savings is available to Apple Card owners subject to eligibility. Savings accounts by Goldman Sachs Bank USA, member FDIC. Terms apply.
This episode is brought to you by Seed. Seed's DSO1 is a 2-in-1 probiotic and prebiotic designed for whole body health. Formulated with 24 clinically and scientifically studied strains, DSO1 offers benefits in and beyond the gut. See why DSO1 is the probiotic recommended by top doctors and nutritionists. Go to seed.com/Spotify for 25% off Seed's DSO1 Daily Symbiotic.
Brooks Running has a new shoe for you runners out there. Did you hear that? Better turn up your volume. In fact, turn it up to the max. Introducing the all-new Ghost Max. It's got all kinds of things to make your knees and ankles feel protected, like Max Cushion, Max Soft Landings with DNA Loft V2 foam, and Max Smooth Rides with their Glide Roll Rocker. Feel better on your run with Ghost Max. Learn more at brooksrunning.com.
Hello and welcome to the Paddock and The Pavilion with Stephen Wallace. In each show, Stephen will interview someone connected to the world of horse racing or cricket.
Hello everyone. On today's podcast, I'm joined by Daryl Mitchell, the former Worcestershire County captain, who is now the Chief Operating Officer at the Professional Cricketers Association. Thank you for joining me on the show, Daryl.
Thanks for having me.
Well, to begin with, I wanted to ask you what the PCA has been doing in the build-up to the new season. It must be a busy time for you.
Yeah, it certainly is. I've clocked up some miles over the last month or so. We visit every county, so all 18 counties from Southampton and Brighton right up to Durham. A little presentation for all the guys in the dressing rooms and just on what's going on in the cricketing landscape at the moment, and a few updates and try and answer any questions as sort of best we can, really. So it's been a busy time, but fortunately got those out of the way now, and then we're on to the regional women's centres now. So we've done one out of the 8 centres so far, with a couple more later this week.
Yes, because talking off air, one of our previous guests, Patrick Foster, in episode 111, he did some work for you recently at the counties. Yeah,
it's an amazing story, as I'm sure your listeners would have heard on the previous podcast. But yeah, he's obviously quite a sad story in a lot of ways as a professional cricketer, but he worked quite closely with the trust to get his sort of life back on track, and now he's doing some great work for the PCA, visiting every county and just giving a sort of telling his story really to the players, and just a sort of a word of warning, some of the pitfalls of the professional game, and obviously gambling in particular in his case. So yeah, he's doing some great education for us.
So do some of the talks when you go out to sort of players and new players cover things like social media, addiction, alcohol, and those sort of things? Yeah,
I mean, the sort of the educational side of it sort of differs year on year, because obviously you can't keep going over the same ground all the time. So, but all the topics that you'd imagine, anything from sort of the addiction side of things and all the vices there. Drive safety was one year in terms of the educational workshops we did. Social media is actually, we've had a social media and mental health workshop that's been delivered this year, actually, around all the counties and the regions. Obviously, it's the modern world now, isn't it? Social media, and that's sort of that's something that all players and all society really need to be aware of there. So a lot of education around that, and then we have sort of online tutorials as well around standard sort of things, sort of every year, really, sort of modules we call them, sort of anti-corruption, anti-doping, and professional behaviours is a new one this year, which covers social media guidelines and things like that within that.
I guess it must be very much appreciated by all the players.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and obviously, I mean, there's no better sort of education really about learning is learning from players themselves and some of the pitfalls. Like you mentioned, Patrick around the gambling issues, but probably Ollie Robinson's done a bit of work with us around the sort of social media things as well, and being careful what you tweet. Obviously, his life was sort of turned upside down on what should have been the sort of greatest day of his career, really. So those sort of stories and hearing from people's sort of experiences is probably the best form of education, particularly when it's sort of previous players who've been in the shoes of the guys they're sort of talking to.
And as you said, this is male and female now, because they say the women's game is really growing. Yeah,
absolutely exciting times, I think, for the game, and particularly the women's game, but also the PCA. We welcomed the new sort of domestic members, professionals in that, and that's grown again. So we started off with 17 England essentially contracted players. We gained another 40 when the domestic sort of structure took off in the women's game, and then that's been added to again. I think we're up to a total of 68 current playing members now, 17 with England and 51 domestic members.
Well, thank you for that. Let's go back to the beginnings of cricket for you. How did it all start?
Dad played, and just village cricket, places like Dumbleton and Badsey, for those who are sort of familiar with Worcestershire and Gloucestershire, that sort of area. So yeah, just followed him, really, like watching him play. I think there's pictures of me in my cot about 2 days old, I think, with a mini cricket bat and things like that, and always loved the game. Mum said that I sort of, when test matches used to be on the BBC, I'd sit in front of the TV as a 3-year-old, even before I was at sort of school and things, watching a day's cricket, and just always loved the game. I loved all sports, really. Football was a big passion of mine as well. I loved watching the rugby and the golf and horse racing and various other sports. So yeah, it was. But cricket, I guess, was always the one, and probably the one I was best at.
So did you play sort of county age groups for Worcestershire?
Yeah, I went right through. So at the time it started, I think it's under 10 now, but at the time it started under 11 back, what's that now? 2 decades ago or whatever, more than that. It's nearly 3 decades ago now. So that I started under 11s, and just went through every year in the system, as it were. I think I was the second intake ever of Worcestershire's academy when I was about 14 or 15. And just sort of step by step, obviously got a few second team games when I was on the academy, and then a university sort of scholarship contract, they called it, and then into a full contract off the back of that.
Yeah, I was going to say, you made your second 11 debut in July 2002, and then your first class debut in May 2005 against Loughborough University, a game that Worcestershire lost. Yeah, it was a pretty underwhelming debut, to say the least, I suppose, in first class cricket. We got beat. I think we were played at Kidderminster, actually. I think it was at Kidderminster, if I remember rightly. And yeah, I remember Tom Moody wasn't particularly pleased with the performance of the group. Yeah, and we got turned over by the students, unfortunately. So yeah, not a debut to remember, I guess. And then you made your county championship debut in June against Somerset at the recreation ground at Bath. Batting at number 7, you got 4, but the team won by 8 wickets. And there was looking at the two sides, there was some quite stellar players playing. The Somerset side had got Andy Caddick, who got you out. Jaya Surya was playing. Graham Smith was captain Somerset. And you had Graham Hick, Chaminda Vass, Gareth Batty, and Ben Smith was captain in Worcestershire.
Yeah. It was. It can't be too many people who debuted like me. I actually came in as an international replacement. I think might have been a morning day 3. Yeah, I think it was day 3. So Bats got called up to England, actually. So obviously an injury in the ODI squad or something. So he left the game halfway through. And I was down there as 12th man and took over. So that's how I sort of made my championship debut. I remember Bats was batting. We all knew it was happening. He was batting the night before, and he was certainly, as I say this politely, playing a few shots is probably the right expression, I guess. And fortunately, he managed to get through to the end of the evening, so I was able to go out and bat at least the next day. There's sort of a straight swap. I hung around for a little bit, but unfortunately, the experienced Andrew Caddick got the better of me. For only 4. But yeah, we went on to win the game. I think Ben Smith got a big 100. We bowled them out relatively cheaply in the second innings. I think both teams got a big first innings score, and then we bowled them out for about 150. I sort of remember Matt Mason and Nadeem Malik sort of ran through. Somerset side, both Smith and Jaya Surya failed in that second innings, and we knocked them off pretty comfortably, really. I wasn't required second innings.
It must have been a big jump playing with such international players at the time.
Yeah, it was. I think the beauty. I'd sort of done my apprenticeship a little bit. Though I'd been around the squad that was probably my third year on this scholarship contract thing. So I'd been around the group for a long time. Obviously, got to know like Hickey and Vikram was obviously my captain, and Bats and a few of the others. So yeah, I knew all the guys relatively well on our side. But yeah, it was certainly I think that year we had our overseas players with Chris Gale and Shoaib Akhtar at one point as well. So I played with those two guys that year on sort of debut. But Shaminder Vass was a brilliant guy. Spent a lot of time. We had two dressing rooms at Worcester then, in the second team dressing room, chatting to the youngsters and things. So he was a good guy to be around, and yeah, felt very much at home in the dressing room. It was a bit daunting to come up against your Smith, Drycereers and Caddicks and things like that, I suppose, on debut. But yeah, it was a really good experience, and to win was obviously the most important thing.
Well, you became a regular in 2008 when you got over 900 runs. And then in 2009, September, I have to mention this, you were bowled Trigo 298 against Somerset at Taunton. 54 fours, only 1 6. What's it like batting that long?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose I've always sort of set my stall out to bat long. Obviously, it doesn't always work like that, does it? I remember I got dropped relatively early. Keysway dropped me behind 20 to 30 or something like that. And Taunton in them days was a brilliant place to bat if you could get in. And scored very quickly for me compared to any of my other previous innings. I think I got 230 and not out overnight or something like that. And just sort of carried on the next morning and fortunately tried to hit Triggs over his head and sort of chopped on, I think it was, from memory.
Well, my research also revealed that it was Justin Langer's last ever first-class match.
Oh, right, I didn't know. I wouldn't have been able to tell you that, to be honest. Yeah, I remember JL was playing. Yeah, I remember JL was playing. Remember he told me, we got to lunch on day 2 and he told me that it's enough of me now or something on the way off, a sort of tongue-in-cheek comment. But I got out not long after lunch, I think, on day 2.
Well, the next year, 2010, you became the captain. You had been the vice captain. Was captaincy something that you had always aspired to?
I think people generally saw leadership qualities in me as I was a kid. So I captained the Worcester age groups for a long time, spent a lot of time as captain in the second team at Worcester. I went over to Perth 3 winters on the trot, and the club there, Midland Guildford, made me captain in the third year. So it's something I'd done a fair amount of. I mean, if I'm truth be told, I was sort of, it was a fledgling career at that point. I'd sort of only it was stop-start for the sort of first 3 years I was at Worcester, and I sort of made it my permanent sort of position in 2008, like you say. So I'd only had a couple of years under my belt full-time playing in the first team. So we had sort of a bit of a mass exodus really in the end of 2009. A lot of players moved on. Hickey, I think, retired in 2008 as well. So there's I guess a lack of sort of experienced players in the team. And Vic asked me to be vice captain, and he decided he'd had enough being captain at Colwyn Bay back end of 2010. And I sort of stepped in as sort of interim to the end of the season at that point, and then obviously we had quite a good run, won a few games and got promoted, and that position became permanent off the back of that, really. But it's something I'd always enjoyed. Quite liked being captain, quite like the tactical side of the game, I guess, and had a great sort of mentor really. And Vikram learnt a lot off him over the years as well as a leader and as my captain. So it wasn't something that daunted me too much, and just enjoyed the challenge of it really.
You said in that sort of conversation that you'd also captained Midland Guildford in Perth. What was it like, an Englishman captaining a load of Aussies?
Yeah, I was the first ever overseas captain, I think. So I'd been there 2 years previous and done pretty well. And the captain at the time stood down, and they felt that I was the best option for that year, really. So they asked before I left at the end of year 2 whether I'd come back and captain the team. And obviously, what a great experience. So jumped at that opportunity to go back and captain the side. It was, I guess, the first real sort of taste of selection, really. A lot of the teams I captained before was very much sort of, here's your team in junior cricket and things like that. And even the second team was, you were given the side to captain on the field. But this was sort of first sort of venture into dealing with things off the field, if you like, in terms of selection and that man management side of it and things like that, which was tricky because anybody who knows sort of grade cricket, particularly in, I don't know necessarily around the rest of the country, but certainly in Perth, it's every player's ambition in that club is to try and get in the first team and play in the A grade side. And there's some interesting characters to manage, but I think I did it reasonably well, and enjoyed my time as captain, certainly.
Well, you see test players play sort of grade cricket, don't you? I know Justin Langer, when I've been out there, was playing for Scarborough.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he played against Mike Hussey, Justin Langer, as you say. They do. They go back and play. A lot of the state guys as well. There's no first class cricket that weekend. They nearly all play. So it is really good competition, particularly when there's the sort of the state and the test players available for selection. It's tough and it's really enjoyable to play. Learned a lot over the course of those 3 years, certainly.
Well, you led Worcestershire for 6 years. You gained promotion to Division 1 in 2014. And it didn't seem to affect your batting too much because you got 1,000 runs in 4 of those years. Were you ever on the verge of getting into the England setup?
Yeah, I think I must have been close a couple of occasions. I think we had, I guess with everything, it's timing, isn't it? It seemed to be every time I was doing well, somebody else was doing equally as well at the same time, I guess. I certainly thought sort of 14 and 15, I was playing really well, and Lythy actually had a really good year, I think, in 14. So he went on the tour and started 15. Sam Robinson played in 2014, I think, as well, and I was in a bit of a purple patch. So I was a bit disappointed not to get a crack, but I guess it's hard to argue when others are doing well as well. And it just wasn't my time, unfortunately. I think closest I probably came was in 2015. We're in Division 1. I just off the back of a double 100. I know I was talked about in selection because I spoke to Gus Fraser, who was a selector at the time, and I think Lythy hadn't done particularly well in the Ashes series, but they stuck with him throughout the whole thing, and that sort of was the end of my opportunity, I think, really, in a lot of ways. 2017 I had a really good year as well. I'm not sure how close I would have been then, but no regrets really. I did the best I could, tried to score as many runs, and unfortunately wasn't quite meant to be.
Well, you returned to the ranks at Worcestershire, say in 2017, and in 2018 you won the T20 Blast final, beating Sussex. Were you in there in the team for the final for your medium pace bowling?
Yeah, pretty much. I think at that point in time, so certainly 17 and 18. I think, it was 18, 19. We got there 2 years running, didn't we? But yeah, I was very much. I was a crisis man, so I sort of started off in sort of at 4 or 5 if we lost early wickets. We didn't do that very often, and as soon as we got off to a reasonable start, I slotted back in at sort of 8 and 9 behind some of the more bigger hitters, I suppose, was the theory. Yeah, and bowled my medium pace cutters and things in the sort of middle overs. Really, I bowled a lot, especially when Mo was away with England. I was sort of, I guess, in some ways like the second spin option, I suppose, when Mo wasn't around. Then when Mo came back in, him and Dolly sort of shared the spin. I probably didn't bowl quite as many overs, but sort of chipped in with 2 or 3 overs here and there when required in those periods. And yeah, batted sort of down the order.
It must have been exciting though for a county. Some would say unfashionable, the underdogs winning on the big stage. Yeah,
brilliant. I mean, it's probably one of the best days of my career, actually, in terms of the actual day itself. I think, interestingly, it was the quarterfinal was probably the most nervous I've ever been on a cricket field in a lot of ways. We got to a lot of quarterfinals. I think I might have lost 6 on the trot or something in terms of T20 quarterfinals over obviously a long period of time. But Gloucester at home was probably the first time we probably actually favourites in one of those games, in those quarterfinals. Obviously, I think we won the North group. We were playing some really good stuff. Obviously, Gloucester sort of snuck through in 4th in the South, and I guess the sort of expectation was that we'd go on to win that game, certainly within the group and from our supporters anyway. So, to get over the line, that one was a big game. And then finals day itself was almost, we're the first Worcestershire team to get there. We hadn't been to finals day at that point, so to get to finals day was almost an achievement itself. And Mo was brilliant as captain in that on that day. Well, throughout that series, really, throughout that competition, just takes the pressure off other people and just allowed players to go out and express themselves and really enjoy the day. And then, fortunately, it came off. Yeah, two relatively comfortable wins actually in a lot of ways. Ben Cox had probably a day of his life, and I think he was man of the match in both innings, or certainly top scorer for us in both games. So yeah, I mean, we won with 2 or 3 overs to spare in the final, didn't we?
What we shouldn't forget though is your strike rate is about 118. So some of these people who'd say that you're a stodgy opening batsman in the T20 game, you could obviously increase the tempo.
Yeah, I had some good years opening the batting earlier on in my career. So I sort of went full circle. Really. I sort of got in the team as a young gun who could sort of field and bowl a few overs, back down the order when required. And as my career progressed, I sort of got the opportunities to bat higher up in the middle order, and then Vikram moved on from Worcester, sort of opened up a slot at the top of the order, which I had 3 really good years at the top, and I think probably my strike rate opening the bat was probably about 130, I think, something like that, and scored relatively heavily in that period. And then with the emergence of some really good strikers of the ball at the club and different overseas players we had over time, I sort of slotted back down into the middle order and worked my way back down the order, if you like. By the time we got to sort of 2018, I was back to where I started, really. Probably not such a gun fielder at that time in my career, but yeah, bowled a bit, batted a bit down the order, and just tried to contribute whichever way I could, really, from where I was.
Yeah, looking at the scorecard in the final, the scorecard says you're number 9 and you're the sort of medium pacer.
Yeah, definitely. I think the following year we got to the final. It was spinning, and Harmer was bowling for Essex. They sent me out to blunt him probably about, I don't know, I must have batted at 5 or 6, I think, in the final in the second year. But yeah, two great days, and even the final we lost off the last ball. That was an incredible day. We beat Notts off the final ball, I think, on the semi-final, and looked like winning the final for a long period. And Ravi Para played a brilliant innings, and Simon Harmer was there at the end. He was sort of the Ben Cox of 2019, if you like. He had a brilliant day in both games, and unfortunately got Essex over the line off the last ball. But 2 brilliant games to be a part of, very close encounters. And in a lot of ways, looking back, it was probably a better finals day than the one we won. Although the celebrations obviously were very different the year before.
Previous to that, in 2017, in February, you were appointed the PCA chairman. Was it difficult combining both the roles as a player and the chairman? Yeah, at times. I think I've always been quite good at sort of, I don't know, compartmentalising things, I suppose. Is that the right word? So always, even when I was captain, you sort of alluded to it previously, like when it was my time to go out and bat, that was Daryl Mitchell, the batter, and that was, once that kit went on, that was my one and only focus, no matter what was going on in terms of captaincy or PCA chair role, whatever. So I've always been quite good at that really. So that was okay. But I think from being a PCA chair, the sort of era I was chairman, it was probably from a time management point of view, it's probably the worst time ever to be PCA chairman in terms of everything going on with the advent of the 100. There was a new county partnership agreement that was to be negotiated with the new broadcast deal coming in. And then obviously we had, at the back end, we had COVID as well. So there was a hell of a lot going on. It sort of coincided with a couple of our CEOs at the time went off with some health issues. And so there was lack of leadership at the top of the executive anyway for a couple of different periods. So I was heavily involved on the day-to-day running, which is, like I say, it's probably the worst time ever from a time management point of view. But from an experience point of view, it's probably the best thing that could have ever happened in terms of I learnt so much and was very much at the forefront and very much hands-on more hands-on than a chairman probably should be in some ways, just by the sort of hand I was dealt, which again probably sort of led on to my future career really, and the experiences I got there actually opened up the opportunity to work at the PCA full time. So what direct sort of things did you do when you're the PCA chairman, as opposed to what you're doing now in your new role?
From a sort of day-to-day perspective as chair, you're sort of in the background, sort of having a look at things and just being kept informed of things really, or should be. But obviously with so much big things going on, I was very much involved in the negotiations around the county partnership agreement, which involved things like salary collars, salary caps, minimum wages. There's a new standard contract that was being put together as well. So a lot of sort of elements that went into that document I was heavily involved with sort of negotiating with county chief executives and the ECB. The 100, I sat on all the sort of working parties to how that sort of competition was built. I suppose put a lot to a lot of the focus groups together with players, where they had sort of player feedback sessions and discussions around the format and rules and regulations, that kind of thing. And then obviously when COVID came along, we sort of lost our CEO at that point as well. Tony Irish, who went unfortunately had to return back to South Africa. So a lot of stuff around sort of the pay cuts and everything that went on through the game, and sort of navigating both the game through the sort of COVID pandemic, but also the association itself from a sort of a finance point of view. And obviously we lost all our sort of commercial arm effectively for a 12-month period with all our events and hospitality and things we do. So it was very much navigating the organisation through a pretty sticky period, along with the other executive.
So what extra help then were the PCA able to give players during the pandemic? That must have been a very stressful time for everyone. Yeah,
I think the priority, really, or certainly the number one priority, was trying to maintain jobs in terms of player jobs, and that's a lot of what the pay cuts we took. I think it was 20% for the majority of that sort of season. Pay cuts across most of the counties, or the opportunity for counties to cut at that level, agreed to be furloughed, that kind of thing, which obviously tried to keep as much money in the game to keep the counties going and their sort of maintain members' jobs. Yeah, so as part of the new standing contract, if you're released, you've got there's three months' salary you get paid at the end of your contract, so you get paid till December effectively. As before, it was just 1 month to the end of October. So that was an important change. Gave comfort to those in their last year of salary. Also, those in their last year of salary, if they were released, they didn't get any. They got all the money paid back from any pay cuts they might have taken through that period as well. So that was probably the most important part of what we were trying to achieve. Really, was trying to, as an association, trying to protect our sort of most vulnerable members. And I think we did it well in that, on average, 45 players released or retire from the game every year. And I think in the COVID pandemic year, we only lost 42, so it was actually below average in terms of number of players lost to the game and finishing up. So I think that was, and last year I think it was down again. I think it was only down to about 40 last year as well. So over the 2-year period, I think we did a pretty good job in that, in trying to maintain as many players as we possibly could. And mentally, was there a PCA helpline for players? Yeah. I mean, that's always been in place as the confidential helpline where you get some help. And we did see, obviously, as you'd expect, I guess, sort of a huge rise or a spike in the sort of mental health provisions and support that we give to all members. Numbers were certainly up over the last couple of years, and hopefully we'll see a little bit of a flattening out and less people needing that sort of mental health support as we go on. But again, that sort of put a bit of extra strain on some of the resources. We were fortunate that obviously the charity has been well supported previously, and we've got we had some reserves which we had to tap into over the last couple of years, because obviously all our fundraising activities took a significant hit. But hopefully now, as sort of everything sort of seems to be opening back up, we get a full commercial program away this year and do some more fundraising for the trust. We can sort of replenish those reserves as we go along. Well, thanks for sharing that with me. You decided to retire at the end of 2021, aged 37. Was it the right time to stop? Yeah, I don't think you ever... I think so, certainly. I mean, obviously we're here now in April. I've had no interest in picking up a bat at this point in time. I was sort of watching, as we go around the counties, watching the guys out in the middle with beanie hats on in the freezing cold, doing slip practice and things like that. I certainly didn't want to swap places with them, that's for sure. So yeah, I think it was the right call. It's enabled us to do a few different things with the family and things as well, and played football again this winter, which I've really, really enjoyed. So I had, after a sort of 15-year sabbatical from that. So it was the right time for me. I think I didn't enjoy my cricket as much last year as I have previously, certainly, and probably my batting results probably were partly to blame for that, certainly. But yeah, I had a great crack at it and enjoyed my career, but it definitely felt like it was the right time to go and try something else. And obviously I had a great opportunity at the PCA, which I was more than happy to take up.
Well, you do yourself an injustice. 13,920 runs, 39 hundreds, 33 first-class wickets. And in your last match, you went out on a high. You won by 10 wickets. Yeah, we won by 10 wickets. I was out there at the end as well, which was a nice way to finish. Yeah, it was a nice week actually. Once I made the decision to retire, I found that there was three games. Well, there's 4 games in September, but the first 3 I didn't. It was weird. I didn't really enjoy it, but the last one, unfortunately, was at New Road, which was good. There was quite a few people turned out to sort of wave me off, sort of thing. So I really enjoyed the week. The Leicester lads were great. They gave me a guard of honour out to the middle in the first innings, and it was an enjoyable week. Really, I obviously capped off really by winning by 10 wickets, and obviously I was out there at the end as well. So yeah, some special memories to sort of finish off. Just must let listeners know that you won by 10 wickets. And everyone's now thinking you scored 70, 80, but it was 9 not out, wasn't it? Yeah, it was a good 9 though. I think it might have been a run of ball or something. We'll have to check the strike rate on that game. The other thing I was pleased to hear that you also like horse racing, and you sometimes get to Cheltenham. Yeah, obviously not far away here. From Worcestershire Parkway station. It's only sort of 5 minutes from my house. It's only a 20-minute train into Cheltenham. So I guess one of the big positives about retiring from cricket, that week of the year, the festival week, can be reserved for horse racing. Don't have to worry about pre-season games or pre-season fitness tests or pre-season tours or anything like that anymore. So managed to get to Cheltenham a couple of days this year, which was great. And I obviously like the October, I think it's November and December meetings as well, which I try and get to. So yeah, Cheltenham's a very special place, and I wouldn't say I'm an avid horse racing fan. I might have a look on the occasional Saturday, but Cheltenham week's certainly something that I really enjoy. Well, that's good to hear. And what does the future hold for Daryl Mitchell? We'll just continue what I do at the PCA in the near future, certainly. So obviously been very lucky to get an opportunity to stay in the game's great. Obviously, it's a game I'm very passionate about and what I've loved. So to stay in the game from a work perspective is great. I'm still going to play a little bit of cricket, playing for Ombersley in the Birmingham League, a couple of MCC games as well. But hopefully try and get that golf handicap down as well with a bit more spare time now as well. So hopefully get out on the golf course and get the handicap down. So what's the handicap at the moment? 7.7. So I'd like to get below 6 if I can. That's my target for this summer. That's the like you say, you sort of give up on professional sport. There's always ambitions and always that competitive nature that wants you to drive on to be better in whatever you do. And so golf's the target for this summer, and then try and get fit again. Try and play another year of football. I'm not sure how long the legs have got in me playing local football, but I'll give it another go next year. Certainly, I've enjoyed this one. Best of luck then for the football and the golf and in your role at the PCA. And thank you very much for joining me on the Paddock and the Pavilion. Pleasure. Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Paddock and the Pavilion. You can download the show on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, SoundCloud, Stitcher and Spotify.
Follow us on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram at the Pad and Pav. Don't forget, if you like the show, please do leave us a rating and review.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
Right now at Safeway, save on all your favorite home scents and cleaning products for a fresh, clean home. Shop for deals on items like Glade candles and plug-ins, Febreze air fresheners, Clorox cleaners, Swiffer wet cloths, or Scotch-Brite sponges. Plus, deck the halls and shop for deals on items like mini light sets, holiday wrapping paper, holiday candles, and holiday cards. Offer expires December 26th. Restrictions apply. Promotions may vary. Visit Safeway.com for full offer details.